Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the first side that I've picked for 2020, albeit it's a fair old draft, so don't judge too hard. But how's the head going? It's the first day of the new year and I'm sure a few of us, probably myself included, it's the 28th of December, so I thought I'd pre-record this one and schedule it for just a little present to start your new year with. I'm sure most of us have a pretty heavy head. No doubt I will as well. But I thought, look, I'll schedule this one to get our new year underway nicely and just hopefully help you guys out in the old recovery session. But I also wanted to mention my Instagram. I'm looking to get that up and running a little bit more. So I'd really appreciate if you guys got around that. I know I sort of lost track of it last season, but I'll look to do a few more stories. I probably won't post a stack, like maybe the odd photo and that, but it'll probably be more about to do just spur up in the moment sort of stories to just, whether a player's scored well or someone who's on my mind and things like that. So I'd love to grow that and sort of help the Shorty community grow a little bit. But let's get stuck into my side, and a shout out to Langers for helping me do the old team picker. He lent me his because Shorty's too much of a tight ass to go out and buy SuperCoach Gold. So thank you, mate. But look, we'll start with the backline. And Caleb Daniel off the top, did a player profile of him a few days back now, and you guys know that he's one of my favourites. Great ball user. I think he's going to average over 100 this season. He was sort of doing that prior to a few injury hassles last year. So I think he's a nice, safe bet. The Dogs love the ball in his hand and he just takes nice, easy options, short, sharp kicks, and he's pretty SuperCoach friendly. James Sicily, I think he's a little bit under what he probably should be, given the fact that he had a little bit of time up forward, whether it be a quarter, whether it be a half. I think if you take out those little elements of forward time, I reckon he averaged about 97, 98. That's just a bit of a guess, but I think he's slightly underpriced, and I think the fact that Patton's come to the club, Lewis as well, his continual development, I think Sicily's going to be a really nice option and basically be the main man in defence to just intercept and do what he does best. Sam Daugherty, well, look, it's a long way out. We know what he's gone through to get back to this stage. So far, so good. He's getting back into the training and everything. If he's fully fit come round one, he's a no-brainer. He's well underpriced, what we know he can do. Look, he's probably not going to produce those numbers we saw him do those years ago, but anything close to it, he's a quality player. He may start a bit slow. It's tough to say with such a long layoff, but I'm pretty confident he'll be in many sides. Same can be said for Stephen Hill. He's well underpriced. Again, durability, very tough for him. He's suffered a number of injuries and he's probably at that stage of his career where, he may not ever get back to full fitness for any longer than, who knows, 6 to 8 matches. But if we can get him over the line to round one with a reasonable bit of training through pre-season, he's a bloke who can average somewhere in the 80s pretty easily if he's fully fit. So we've got to be pretty confident at 190k to go with him. And I should have said off the top, draftees, I just want to put a little asterisk over this side. Don't take much attention to the rookies. Yeah, I've picked a few that name rang a bell or I saw them got drafted or maybe I like them, but realistically, they're just placeholders at this stage. We want to focus on the premiums and your general structure. So at this stage, don't take too much notice. I do like Starcevic. I think I've heard Dane Zorko talking on SEN saying that he was flying, real inside bull type of player. Would be pretty tough to find a spot in that Lions midfield, but he's looking the goods. Rivers will be popular by all reports. Williamson I really like. Talented player, just hasn't quite had the best run with his body either. But more or less, don't pay too much attention to these rookies. They're just holding a spot down. Moving on to the midfield, we've got Josh Kelly there. Now, I want to focus in on these Giants because obviously I've got Whitfield, got Canelio, got Kelly. I guess we have seen in the past teams have a number of players who can be in the same side and all average really, really good points. I'm not sure whether I have, because Whitfield, Canelio and Kelly could all be in the same midfield. Then you got Taranto, you got Hopper, what's Ward doing? A lot of points you need to go around in that midfield. But Kelly, such a classy player. Yeah, he's expensive. Potentially I can go to a Fife or a Neil. But certainly an absolute super premium will be in that position. Cripps, got an absolute man crush on him, one of my favourites. He picks himself, he's a beast. Dangerfield, real interesting, Paddy. I think, he's definitely past his absolute peak. He averaged 120 plus for so many years. Now he's down at, I think, 115 mark. Real interesting to see whether, going up, window, prime of his career, is he going down? Is he just a bloke who's going to average 110, 112 now? That's still really good. Or does this price tag represent semi-value? Not great value, but is he slightly unders? Will he back to the 120 mark? I think he's pushing the 30 age bracket, so we'll have to see. But I really love Paddy. So Clayton Oliver, one of my first pick players. I reckon he's unders. I speak about getting some value from players, and it's just miniature value. They're not mid prices, but I look at Cornelio. He scored that 0. I think without that 0, he averaged about 107. I think Sicily, 30, 40K unders. I think Oliver was serviceable in a really tough year for the D's. And I think he ended the season well. Back half was good. I think he'll be back to his 110 plus best, even around the 115 mark. So I think he represents 30 or 40K value. Same can be said with Cornelio, maybe 50 or 60K. And I'm not a big one for mid prices, as you can see, but if you can find a couple of guys like that, because you can't start with McRae, Cripps, Fife, Neil and Dangerfield. You can't have all those guys. But what you can do is find the odd one across a line or two that is maybe 50K unders. You pick a couple of those and all of a sudden you've maybe saved yourself 150, 180K. So it's something to think about. Main omission from the premium side of things might be Tommy Mitchell. Now, what is he? He's like 6'30", isn't he? Yeah, he's I'll scroll past him, but he's 6'30". My tech skills on display there. I'm sure he's 6'30", which is amazing, really. There it is. I thought somewhere in the 500s, but it's probably the SuperCoach gods just making it a little more of a decision for us. And look, from all reports, he's had some emotional scarring. It's been a really tough rehab. He will be back, and I'm sure he'll average great, but at the moment, it's just he's not in my side. So I just don't have the absolute confidence. I just want to see him play some preseason games. So we'll see how we go there. Matty Rao, hopefully a Sam Walsh clone in a way. He'll get plenty of time in the middle at the Gold Coast Suns. Seems ready-made. A lot of picks around that sort of area are, particularly midfield types that seem physically ready. He should slot in beautifully, and we saw the benefits those younger players that step into a weak side and play really well, see those benefits they can have like Walsh did. Pickett, very popular at the minute because he was a grand final hero. But personally, I wouldn't be getting carried away. There's a long way to go. I think he'll be doing well to remain in the best 22. There's a big pre-season to go. So at this point in time, he scored, 90-odd or something like that in the grand final. Not that I watched much of it because I cracked the shits when the Tigers were up and about. But at this point in time, he looks a good pick. And, a few of these guys I think could be pretty handy picks at this point in time. I saw McHenry getting talked up on the AFL website. Bytel is certainly a guy who's highly rated at the Saints, but had his fair share of injury troubles as well. Collier Dawkins was knocking on the door for much of last year. So that's a bit of the midfield coverage. I tend to not muck around with mid-price types in the midfield. But you've probably all been waiting for the ruck. I've been crapping on about the midfield the last 4 or 5 minutes. You're probably saying, Shorty, just shut up, mate. I'm looking at your ruck division, and I'm not seeing Gawn. I'm just saying Grundy. What are you doing, mate? Stop talking about your midfield. So let's address the ruck. Grundy picks himself. Now, Gawn. I've gone Timmy English, and I know what you're thinking. Maybe Shorty got on the beers earlier than New Year's, and he's picked this side with a severe hangover. No, I've gone English, and I quite like the pick. I'll tell you the process of events. I picked Gawn and Grundy first up, my first team, Gawn and Grundy. And fiddling around with the rest of the side, I just couldn't find the balance. I just couldn't find a balance that I liked. So I thought there's something about Gawn that I just can't trust at the minute. It's just a gut feel, and it's mainly about his body. I know statistically it says that I think the last 3 out of 4 seasons he's played at least 21 games. So I can't really sit here and say, look, he's a liability when it comes to his fitness, but something just says if you're going to go elsewhere, like lock Grundy in, that maybe you can free up some coin, spending, what is it, about 1.4 million. It just hurt the rest of my side in how I wanted it to look. So then I went Nick Nat, and then I thought, well, you're ditching Gawn because you're a bit worried about the body. Nick Nat's even less durable. So what are you thinking there? And then I was doing a bit of research. I was looking at Sean Darcy. I was looking at Tim English, and English looks as if he's absolutely tearing it up at the moment. And who isn't? It's pre-season. Everyone's training the house down, particularly English. We know big guys can take a little bit of time. Very agile player. I know when he was getting drafted, there was a lot of talk about him being a sort of a Dean Cox prototype. That's a fairly big call, but he's in that sort of mould. Now he's 22 and a half, hasn't played a stack of games, but I just want to take a look at the back end of last year. And he will take the number 1 ruck mantle, which is great. So 97, 100, 500, 84 in the final, but 105 AFL fantasy. The 5 clangers probably took away from his efficiency and impact, but started to find a bit more of the ball, and his hit-out numbers were good. I'll be interested to see the contested elements. So, a lot of in and under work there, getting a lot of the in and under ball, which is good to see from our big guys. But, so look, English is in there at the moment. So much can change. Gawn and Grundy, set and forget. It's very likely many people will go that way. I'm just going to monitor English through the pre-season. I really like him as a prospect, but it's a bit of a risk. So we'll see how we go. First team, we'll just see. Forward line, if you don't have Whitfield and Martin, you're not taking it seriously. They're out and out locks. There's just no discussion about it. And look, I said Cripps that I had a man crush on him. Well, Heaney's in that same bracket. Love the way he goes about it. I think he'll definitely step in the midfield very soon, or at least play more midfield. I think the fact that Buddy Franklin should hopefully play more footy this season. Sounds like he's tracking well towards round 1, training nicely at the minute. I think that will allow the likes of Heaney and Mills to eventually transition to have more responsibility through the middle. And the Swans are going to have a bit of a new guard in the engine room as some of their former Warriors, transition into the twilight of their careers. So I really like the look of Heaney. He probably didn't kick on like I thought he would last year. Now, Hugh Greenwood, interesting one. Let's take a little look at his numbers. Now, obviously gone to Gold Coast. I really like him. He's a contested bull. Now, just have a look at, average mid-80s his whole career. And it's a contested ball that's just great. He's a tackling machine. 6 tackles, he's just averaged around the 15, 16, 17 touches each year, but really does love it on the inside. Look at that. That's sort of 65% of his touches are sort of contested pill. So that's really impressive. Loves the clearance. Now, the thing is, he's going to get way more midfield time at Gold Coast. He's spent time forward at Adelaide. He's been in the middle. He's spent time behind the Crouches and Sloane. So I think Greenwood, in what is a pretty young Gold Coast side, they need big bodies like him. And he's got great hands in around the contest. Gets his hands up, gets the handball away, and tackles hard. Now, I also want to show you the forward line. In terms of blokes who averaged 90 plus last year, you got Whitfield, Walters, Martin, Ablett, Heaney, Green, Cameron, and Zeeble. It's only 8. Now, you're not going to pick Zeeble. You're not going to pick Cameron. You'd be silly to pick Ablett. Toby Green has his risks. Look, lock and load Martin and Whitfield. I love Heaney. A lot of pick Walters. But I think the forward line represents an opportunity to take a risk, because I think early to mid-90s could end up being a keeper, because there's not a stack of blokes who averaged really well last year. I look at the back line and I see Williams, Lloyd, Hooley, Daniel, Sicily, Williams, if I didn't say him already, Daugherty, of course, Laird. You know, there's a stack of guys that I think could average easily 90 plus, 95 plus. Where the forward line, it's kind of like, so if you're going to take a risk and a bit of a punt, and I am a Greenwood fan, then maybe that's the area you're going to do it. Cockatoo and Rankin. If Cockatoo can get fit, he could be anything. Similar said to Rankin, and just round it out with a couple of rookies. But that's my side. It is a draft side, very early. I don't often do a team picker this early on, but then again, thank you to Langers for allowing me to use his and get my team out there. Hopefully you guys are having a reasonable recovery. Hopefully I had a good New Year's Eve. I'll tell you what, Shorty has a poor track record on New Year's Eve. Let's just hope I haven't embarrassed myself last night. Let's just hope it. Let me know how you're tracking with your side. And look, I hope that you can just whack this video on with a tub of KFC in front of you and just help it ease your recovery. That's certainly what I'll be doing. But that's how my side is looking. Pretty basic, trying to get as many premiums in as I can and utilise a few value picks. This is going to change a lot throughout preseason, we know that. But I definitely think the main mechanics as my side is in place. We'll change up some rookies. The ruck division's very interesting. But more or less, that'll be my side. So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe away. We're really starting to get some content going. I'll be continuing those club previews. So hopefully you guys enjoy those and the player profiles. I'll be back soon. Cheers.